Welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hopes we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week, leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory. Hello.
Yay. Hello. So, when I was thinking about this episode today, before we started recording, I was like, I really love this episode. It's really good. And I was thinking about the title screen that they did for it, and I was like, but the X-Files has a much better intro. But for the life of me, I could not remember how the intro goes for X-Files. And what was happening, I was getting a mixture of Law and Order and Halloween. And I'm like, then I listened to it, I was like, well, actually, that's kind of spot on.
It kind of is. Actually, you're right. It is actually spot on. I can do it. It goes do 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 do.
So I was just like, oh, well, and so I looked up and I was like, oh yeah, okay, so it is both of those mixed together.
I enjoyed that too. I mean, it is a running joke. I think that it's basically Supernatural is kind of X-Files-esque. I feel like a lot of people
and they finally did it.
Yeah, they finally did it. Like Ben was like, let's just do it. Let's just do it, guys. And I appreciate that they changed all the intro for it and everything. Like this was a true filler episode in the sense of like it didn't take the plot anywhere at all, but I enjoyed it, so it was worth it.
Yes. Well, it kind of did, because it like gave us more of a look into what Sam is like. Which no, that doesn't really further the plot though, does it? No,
it was just like playing with that notion of like soulless Sam. I feel like Ben Edlund gets soulless Sam in a way some of the other writers have been trying to do. But I think this episode showed it well. I don't know. It's still very vague about what being soulless means, but I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of get it more from this episode, actually.
Yeah. It also made... So the episode that we're doing is season 6, episode 9, Clap Your Hands If You Believe, written by your boy, Ben Edlund, and directed by John Showalter.
Yep.
He did a great job with directing in this episode, by the way. I everything about this episode was really good.
Yes.
The thing that it like made me realize though is that I don't know how if Ben Edlund had run a season, how it would have gone, because even though we needed this episode, we needed the fun. Yeah, we haven't had it like since now, or not done well. But there was parts of the episode, even though I was belly laughing, like full on, like it caught me completely off guard, started laughing. I was like, I can't imagine a whole season like this. I know he can do other episodes really, really well, but the banter towards the end of the episode got frustrating. Yeah. I've never said that about him, and like usually it's okay, but like, I don't know. I was just like, I just wanted a moment that wasn't so like flippant.
Yeah, this
and maybe.
Yeah, this whole episode is like, it's a laugh, right? But that's kind of all it is. You know? Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's very superficial. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was at the expense, you know, of our queer folks out there. You know, keep being fairies, my loves.
It's so oh my god, like you could not air this episode now. There's no way. Maybe you could. It'd be fine, right?
Maybe. So that was one thing that I was kind of like, maybe because I've seen the episode kind of a few times before, but like the fairy joke got old very quickly.
Yeah. I think if you did this episode now, you could get away with maybe doing like the police car bit, but like the rest of it was just getting like too much. Like, you know, it's like, okay, we get the point. Ha ha. Ha ha. Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's fine for the 2000 humor though. I mean, I'm saying that now. We are in 2010 in this season 6, so it's like,
yeah,
how much leeway are you still going to give? But I did enjoy this. It was a good relief, I think, from the heaviness we've had of this season, and I think that's probably what the brief was. It's like, look, we need a fun filler episode because it's getting pretty heavy up in here. I do feel like sometimes the Ben Edlund is like the Stephen Moffat of Supernatural. We all think oh yeah, he would have been a really good showrunner, but if it actually happened, like in Doctor Who, it would have been like, can you keep the momentum of your episodes? Whereas if you drop in with a banger, it's like, yeah, you're the best ever.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the way to tell, I guess, is maybe to look at his shows that he has run, like The Tick.
Yes.
But I feel like The Tick is a completely different beast compared to this. But even still, it would have been interesting, but I'm kind of glad that he didn't, because he gets to be one of those revered writers. You look forward to one of his episodes.
Precisely. Yeah, exactly. And this is one. I really did need this episode. I actually think this is one of the less good filler episodes that Ben Edlund did. It's not my fave, but it's just needed at this point in the season, so I think it gets more of a pass.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. But yeah, there were some moments in this that I like I said, completely caught me off guard. That I can't. It was just so funny. I was just like, what? Wait a minute. Where did that come from, kind of thing?
It's very left field. I think Sam in this episode is hilarious.
Yes.
He properly knew how to play with the soulless bit, and I was like, oh my god, it makes him just real funny. But also, it's still Sam. It's oh, Sam would do this if he felt like he could get away with it.
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Even with the soul.
And poor Dean in this episode, he is a butt of every joke in this episode.
He really, really is. And I don't know if it's just because Dean is so he puts on it's a show of masculinity, that he has to be the butt of the joke in this episode, because it's it's fairies. They're doing the stuff that hippie woman is fairies. Yeah.
One thing that I kind of wish that we would have seen fairies again, just because of what one of the characters says. This implication that there's this whole other dimension. It's just so I think it was the last episode or the one before, I can't remember, the one where they mentioned purgatory for the first time.
Yeah.
That I was saying that you can, something gets mentioned, they go there, and you can easily get back and forth.
Yeah.
Well, they've mentioned that there's this whole other fairy realm, and they're more powerful than angels, supposedly.
Yes.
And they never go there. That feels like a missed opportunity.
This was my issue with the episode. This was a big issue with this episode, because I thought exactly the same thing. I was like, you can, in the previous episode, introduce purgatory as an actual place, which you're going to end up going to. That's where the seasons are leading. And then in the next episode, be like, oh, yeah, there's a whole other dimension where they the apocalypse. Who cared? Because they're also powerful beings.
Yeah.
It also doesn't mesh with the fact during the apocalypse we had all the old gods getting well scared about it. Why don't they just feck off to fairyland?
I mean, if it's so easy for them to get summoned, he had a book. Literally had a book.
I just feel so I recently read a book about a retelling of some of the King Arthur mythology and stuff, and there being a kind of fae realm of maybe Avalon or whatever. Does that mean that King Arthur is canonically exists in Supernatural? We never saw him. That would have been such a good episode. Oh,
it would have been.
Never did any other countries though, did they? I'm sure there's much folklore around the world that have been that would have made a really good Supernatural episode.
It would have done. Yeah.
Yeah.
They did what they could, right? because especially since when they get into the angel stuff, they kind of stuck with that for a long time. So they didn't really have the opportunity to then. But how funny would that have been if, like, I don't know, in season 15 to fight God, they bring out fairies.
They could have done it as well, because even in the final season where they lose their, like, luck, like, why didn't they just, like, make that, like, a leprechaun? That would have been, like, a huge throwback to season 6. Be like, oh, yeah, I forgot fairies exist. It just reminds me of, is it Mad Sweeney? Is it Mad Sweeney from American Gods? And he has the, like, coin that makes everyone, like, be really lucky. Oh, yeah. And, like, that is basically that exact Supernatural episode. Yeah, I don't know.
That's very true.
But yeah. I like it. I wish I'd done more as well. There's so much fairy lore. I sound like the lady. I sound like the lady in her trailer.
Do you know what's really funny though? Like, the things that were happening in this episode could have easily been chopped up to Gabriel, right?
Yeah, right. Well, any kind of like trick.
How funny would it have been that like the like Gabriel's not actually an angel at all. He's actually like Oberon.
Like he well could be. Like he absolutely could be. And also, like, why did their minds immediately go to, like, oh, maybe aliens do exist, rather than, like, oh, this is a trickster god messing with us? Like, why would you... Why?
Well, I guess because they know that... Well, they've assumed that tricksters don't actually exist, and it was Gabriel the whole time.
True, and they think... they know he's dead.
Gabriel's dead, yeah.
But they know other gods exist, though. They know that. They know that.
True. And they know that Gabriel was impersonating Loki.
So Loki is a real...
Loki...
Wait.
Or is Loki and Gabriel the same thing? I can't remember what conclusion we came to with that one.
I can't remember the like chicken and egg situation of Loki and Gabriel.
Yeah,
I can't remember. But there are other trickster gods. They exist. You know?
True. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In other mythologies, yeah.
It's a shame. I actually do. But we said this as well, like in the dog episode, where they bring up this whole huge world-changing thing, and then they're like, no, don't worry, we're not going to mention it ever again. Like, forget that it existed. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's filler, right? Yeah. You're not supposed to remember. But you can't make this episode so good.
Yeah, exactly. Oh.
You have to make it like the dog episode and be garbage.
Garbage. Oh, let's do it. Let's get into this episode. I want to talk about it. Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. So we have the recap, and it's all about Sam, really.
Yeah.
Lisa saying that, like, you know, I didn't expect Sam to come back, and the minute he walked through, I knew it was through the door. I knew it was going to be over. Then the discovery that he doesn't have his soul, and that it's still in the cage with Michael and Lucifer and Adam. Dean pointing out that actually this line, the pointing out he has no instinct and that you're seriously messed up, plays so much into this episode. So that's amazing. And Dean pointing out, like, you know, he's pretending and you need to stop. Mm-hmm. And that, you know, Sam acknowledging that I'm not your brother, and that he doesn't really care about Dean, mm-hmm. and he should feel guilty, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
And so it starts off like, as soon as this episode started, I knew something was different because it had a typewriter sound and it showed the name of the town and the state. That never happens. They don't, like, the name and stuff will come up, but they don't draw attention to it to, like, do the click, 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 click.
That's an X-Files thing. That's why. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Mm-hmm. I love how they described it on here. 2 people smooching on a blanket. So there's like 2, I guess they're teenagers or like maybe like high school, college freshmen.
Yeah. Yeah.
That are in like a field, and there's like a rustle sound, and the boy like looks over and he sees something. The girl just wants to get back to smooching. And then the boy does the one thing you don't do. Yeah. He goes into the cornfield.
Don't go into the corn.
Like, have you not, like, no instincts whatsoever?
I watched this film. Oh, what was the film called? Where they, like, go into the corn. and then they get lost in the corn. And it's time traveling corn. So when they come back out, they have to try and prevent themselves from going into the corn. And it's kind of freaky.
What is this movie? I need to see this. It sounds amazing.
It wasn't that good. Like, and it was also kind of scary. I'll try and find it. Let me try and find it. Like, let me do. Hang on. Corn movie. I'm just gonna type cornfield movie. Cornfield movie. It's called In the Tall Grass. And maybe it's not corn. Maybe it's just tall grass, but it looks like corn. Yeah, that is it. That is it. Anyway, sorry about that. That was a divergence. But yeah, I've always wanted. This is so sad. When I was a child, I always wanted to go into a cornfield where the corn was like higher than my head. I just thought it was very like, I don't know, movie to do.
I've done it.
Have you? It's scary.
Yeah, it's not scary. It's just like, so the actual thing is not scary, but it's because of all the media, like all the things that you think about. So he runs into the cornfield and a bright light appears and he disappears, and the girl is calling out to him, wondering where he is, and then it zooms out and you see its crop circles and all this stuff, and then it does, like I said in the beginning, an X-File intro, and they have like very much it had that feeling of the TV episode with Gabriel, and I can't remember the name of the episode right now, but like all the like commercials and stuff they did, it was very much like that. So it was like showing clips of them doing things and like pausing. So if you've ever seen the X-Files opening credits, it's like that, but you replace them with Sam and Dean.
Yeah. The only one I had a question on, and this is me being stupid and not remembering episodes, is there was the clip where Cass and Dean are stood next to each other with FBI badges, and Cass has his upside down and Dean turns it around for him. And I was like, has that happened? Yeah,
it's happened. It was like the first case they ever worked. It was the other Ben Ed episode.
Yeah,
where
right.
they with Michael and I can't remember the actual name of it because it's a really long name, and it's like the spark of all of the fanfic of theirs.
That one. Yeah, no, I knew it had happened. I was just like, I had a moment where I was like, I feel like this was a later season, but like I kind of like, it must have happened because it's in these credits and I remember talking about it. Anyway, that was the only bit that was weird. Also, it was missing the floaty man. I feel like they needed the floaty man from the X-Files. Like in the X-Files credits, there's like a man going, ah. We needed something like that, but like Sam or Dean.
But has that happened to them?
No,
yet?
but like I did feel like they should have shot some footage just for this of them going ah and being like a lighty floaty man. Anyone this means nothing to anyone who hasn't watched the X-Files. Yeah, I really enjoyed it though. It was actually good. I forgot that they did that intro to this episode. I knew it was aliens, but like I was like, oh yeah, they really leaned into it. One thing actually that this could have improved this episode is I feel like they should have leaned into the X-Files further. Like,
in what way?
I don't think. I feel like Dean and Sam should have been more Mulder and Scully-esque, as in like one's really psyched about aliens and the other one's like, aliens don't exist, man. It must be this other strange explanation. And because I feel like they were both on board with the aliens.
I guess so.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's past the credits, it didn't feel like an episode of the X-Files. And like I don't actually know what I want from this. I'm not sure. But like I don't know. I feel like I wanted more of a parody of the X-Files, but maybe that's just me. This episode was fine. I'm asking for something that no one else has asked for.
So I think I get what you're saying. What would have been kind of cool, and we've mentioned this before when they've done like another sort of like they think it's aliens episode, is actually having them in the background or two people who look like Mulder and Scully in the background, because obviously if everybody is there for aliens, surely they would show up too.
No, you're right. That's what I wanted. You know when they're like going through that caravan park and there's all those alien people there. Where were Mulder and Scully in the background, or like someone who looks like them? Or they talk to someone who's also investigating this case, you know, and it's like, oh, we're from the actual FBI, but from the secret department. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like they could have done a funny little nod to it. Yeah, so this episode starts in a kind of strange way as well, past the intro, in that it's like a bunch of interviews with people. So they're talking about like, oh yeah, like we're here because aliens, or like his girlfriend is saying like, oh yeah, he disappeared in like a flash of light or whatever. And it's all the like different townspeople and also people who have now visited. There's a guy called Wayne Whitaker, who's like a UFO specialist who's come there as well. I've watched an unholy amount of UFO documentaries. I don't actually believe in UFOs, but I find people who do really interesting, so I've watched a lot.
They are the most interesting people.
They are.
Because it's so interesting to see how like collective think works in real life. And that's an incredible like social experiment. Yeah, and basically.
And I believe that they got abducted by aliens. Like I feel like that is like that is a real situation for them that they believe happened. So I'm like, I don't want to take that away from them. Like I don't think it was aliens, but like it's cool that you found a group of people you can like talk about this with. It's nice, but I find it real fascinating. I don't know.
I do like that they didn't lean into the fact that these people were like quote unquote crazy.
Yeah, I think that's right.
In this episode, it was much more that like, yeah, the sheriff is kind of annoyed that there's all these people come into town. Yeah. But like, the people that Sam Dean, the person that they find crazy is the fairy lady. Yeah. They don't find the alien people crazy.
And that's still her beliefs though. Like she could be like pagan or whatever. And I guess this is controversial, but I'm going to say anyway. I don't think that, people going from place to place looking for UFOs are any less legitimate than like, say, people going to like pilgrimage to holy places, right?
Yeah, no, to me, it's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, they investigate these whole... so Sam and Dean are interviewing these people, like it eventually cuts to them showing that they are pretending to be the FBI or whatever. One of the guys, the like... So the UFO specialist guy is played by Robert Picardo, so we know he's going to be a big deal in this episode. If you aren't familiar with him, have you ever watched any sci-fi show? Like he's in everything, but obviously, like most famously, he's the Doctor in Voyager, the opera singing Doctor from Voyager. I love Robert Picardo. I follow him on Instagram, and he is jolly. He's great.
It's funny because he always like. So I haven't watched Voyager.
Oh, it's good.
I'm not a huge Star Trek fan. What can I say? Like it's like of all the things I can watch on TV, it just hasn't been the thing that I've focused my energy on. And so I don't. He's a good guy, right? In Voyager,
he's a hologram. Generally? So he basically, I'll briefly explain his character. Their ship gets lost in space. Their doctor dies, and so they have a backup hologram. That's why he's just called the Doctor, because he's a hologram. And the way holograms work in Star Trek is they can like touch people and stuff. They are basically like corporeal. But he also has like a whole existential crisis for like, am I a person or am I a hologram? That's basically his whole character arc.
Okay, because so for me, my experience with this actor is that he has been like this. Yeah. In that he's the extra or the like, he's always been like a guest star in the shows that I've watched. And because he's always the guest star, he's always the bad guy.
Right. I mean...
So as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, he did it.
I was watching some early seasons Criminal Minds the other day, and like DJ Coles was in it, and I was like, oh, well. Yeah. He's a serial killer then, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think it was him. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, he's been in it. Yeah.
So yeah, like it's kind of, that is the problem with getting to a certain level of like fame, is that you can't guest star and stuff anymore if you're going to be the villain. You have to be like helping people on the case or something. I don't know.
Exactly.
So he says this line which is like,
we are right in the middle of what we in the field like to call a UFO flap.
I've never heard that term. And he's like, I'm as happy as a pig in shoes, which is not how you say that saying.
Nope.
And yeah, there's a sheriff saying that it's not UFOs. And then they cut to this sweet lady who is like, of course it's not UFOs, it's fairies. And that's when it switches to Dean and he's like, fairies? Thanks to your input. And as they walk away, no, Sam says this lady's face.
What, flying saucers not insane enough for you?
Dean looks at him like, Mike, you can't say that. You can't say that. The lines that Sam gets in this, I bet Jared really enjoyed saying these with a straight face. It's like, if you want to add glitter to the glue you're sniffing, it's fine, but don't dump your wackadoo all over. I really like that.
I need to use wackadoo in like my daily life.
Not being able to swear on a show makes it so funny. I'm doing so many tangents today and I'm so sorry. I've recently started watching the new series of Criminal Minds because it's moved to Stars. And they've, like, there were so many seasons of Criminal Minds, but because they've moved to a new network, they're allowed to swear, and they are now. So it's like your favorite characters are suddenly saying like the F word in the middle of sentences. It's like the best thing ever. Like watching Emily Prentice say is amazing.
I just want to see Garcia rant at somebody.
It's amazing. Like there's so many memes and stuff. It's like, oh, what you know, and these characters would swear if it was like on a different network, and it happened to this show. And I was like, yes. Anyway, sorry. But yeah, if this had happened, if this was on a different network, Sam would be like effing and blinding. So Dean kind of makes excuses for him, and so they like drags him away from this lady. I don't think she realizes that she's being insulted, which is good. So Sam does say like, you know, are we taking this UFO crap seriously? And he's like, no, ET is made of rubber. Everyone knows that. But people have gone missing, so we're investigating it.
Sorry, this is the line that caught me off guard. Where he says, and Sam, by the way, it's not the lady's fault that she took the brown acid. I don't know what, there was something about that just like was like, whoa.
It's so harsh. They are so harsh to people in this episode. And Sam's like, well, why should I care, basically? And things like,
empathy, man, empathy. I mean, the old Sam would have given her some wussified, dew-eyed crap.
So yeah, they have all this back and forth about Sam not caring, and things like, you have to care. Like, you have to at least pretend to care. Like, you can't be rude to these people. And then this is what kind of they touched on last week, because Sam's like, well, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to fake it? And Dean's like, yeah. You need to fake it till you make it. There's a lot of, like, they do a few Pinocchio references in this, which I think is like hinting at the real cause of this episode. Because, you know, Sam asks, you wanted me to be honest, and Dean says, well, you want to be a real boy, Pinocchio, you gotta act the part. And like, Sam makes a good point of like faking it, like masking is really exhausting, right? Which we all know if you've ever worked in like customer service or just with other people. It's tiring. And Dean says, okay, until then, I'll be your conscience.
So you're saying you'll be my Jiminy Cricket?
Shut up. But yeah, you freaking puppet. That's exactly what I'm saying.
And Dean says, yeah. So Dean is Jiminy Cricket now. And we have said this before that, like, I think we said Sam is better with Dean or something like that. Something to that effect. But this kind of, like, sums that all up, I feel. I like sometimes that on the podcast we anticipate what Ben Edlund's going to say in his episode.
And I guess it's a logical conclusion, and that's like,
I know, but like it's fun to me. I'm like, oh yeah, we just said that 3 episodes ago. So they drop in on the guy who got abducted, his dad. He owns a watch shop. And they he's quite standoffish to their questions. And because he's just like, look, Patrick's gone. He doesn't want to answer any more questions about it. And his son was the first to disappear as well. But he says first to be taken. And when he says that, he then starts freaking out and is like, get out of the shop. And they're trying to ask him, like, what did you think took him? And again, he's like, you have to leave. You can't help me. He's never coming back. And he goes on to say that thing, like, if people have been missing for more than 72 hours, it's hard to find them. But and it's been weeks since he's been missing. But yeah, he's very not helpful, despite the fact they're clearly looking for his son. I don't think it helped that they pretended to be reporters. Like, because I was wrong. I said they were FBI and they're not. They're pretending to be reporters through all of this.
That's right. Yeah. They're working for the Mirror.
I feel like they should have been FBI, again, to fit with the X-Files thing.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that would have made more sense.
And it wouldn't have changed the story in any way, on this bit anyway. So they leave and just say, like, contact us if you think of anything. And we see this guy, Mr. Brennan, just talking out loud and saying, like, is that all right? Ooh, who is he talking to?
And you see a clock turn.
Oh, yeah, the whole, like, the things move and stuff, yeah. Yeah. So something going on. Outside of the clock shop, watch shop, whatever it is, things that go tick.
But not boom.
Yeah, exactly. They decide that he's definitely hiding something. So Dean asks Sam to watch him, and he's going to go check out the crop circles. And Dean's kind of about to move away, and then he's like,
but do not engage with, maim, or in any way kill Brennan.
Because he remembers what happened, I guess, last episode. Sam makes the point of, like, he was doing fine without Dean telling him what to do for a whole year. But Dean does make the point of, like...
I don't want to know your definition of fine.
Because Sam did say last episode, like, he's done things.
Yeah, he's done things that, like, civilians have been caught in the crossfire, basically.
Yeah.
He's basically told people he's killed innocent people. He's told Dean that he killed innocent people.
Yeah, so Dean's like, yeah, that you can't just keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, it's not a good thing.
Killing people is bad, Sam. Yeah. You know this.
Murder is wrong. So it's nighttime. It's had a sudden cut from, like, daytime to nighttime, as in the, tradition of Supernatural. We're missing a bunch of time for no reason. How far away is this cornfield from town? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So Dean's in the cornfield at night by himself. Sam rings him, complaining that this guy is just drinking. Dean's like, well, fine, that's all right. Sam wants to go talk to him again, but Dean just completely starts blanking him because he hears something in the corn. So yeah, there's this whole bit of, like, Dean running and, like, he sees a light and he starts, like, shouting and running away from the light. I love this so much. She's like, UFO, and Sam is so like, is there something going on? What is going on, Dean? You're breaking up, like, it's fine. Dean shouting, close encounter. Sam's just saying, what kind? Like,
Sam, you gotta care.
He just goes like, you better run, man. I think the fourth kind is a butt thing. But it's so, like, I guess, look, logically, Sam can't help him. He's too far away because it took him all day, presumably, to drive to this cornfield.
And he doesn't have a car because he's obviously taken the Impala.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, what can he do other than, like, give him encouragement on the phone? Again, Dean's like,
empathy, Sam! Empathy!
Dean, like, draws his knife. Does he have his knife and his gun? I think.
Yeah, he does.
Bless him. And yeah, he gets abducted, and Sam is asking after him on the phone, but, like, not urgently.
No. And he's distracted by a very pretty waitress.
Oh yeah, the waitress. Yeah, I love everything about Dean's abduction. I love how, like, I don't know, it's so stupid. It's he does see a UFO, doesn't he, as well? Like, it's not just a light. He, like, sees a UFO. I'm sure.
I think it's no, I don't think it shows like anything.
I thought it showed you. Maybe I imagine a UFO going wom 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 wom.
I think you're making that one up.
Fine.
You double check,
No,
but I'm pretty sure
I believe that I'm making it up. It's okay. My memory's not that good. Yeah.
So it's then nighttime and Sam is now in the cornfield. So either it doesn't take very long or it took Dean forever to, like, I don't know, whatever. So Sam is like ringing Dean's phone to try and find it, and he hears it in the background. I can't remember the ringtone it's playing, but it's like appropriately for Dean.
Yeah.
He then finds it, picks it up, and turns it off. We then get transported to the UFO camp, the enthusiast camp, and he's talking with Wayne, and Sam is very much like direct with this guy.
Yeah.
He's like, so the UFOs are real, and Wayne's like, oh yeah, like I said before, the truth is out there. And to me it's really funny that Sam has this level of expectation about this expert, because he said,
Well, you hunt ETs, right? I need to know how to get them.
as if any expert is supposed to be a hunter.
Yeah, or like
That's like one and the same thing.
an actual expert on anything. It's like going up to be like, I don't know, someone who studies tigers and being like, all right, well, where do I get one though?
Yeah. And Sam's like, you hunt ETs, right? I need to know how to get them. No, they're looking for them. They're not hunting them. They're looking for them. They're looking for evidence of them.
One thing I don't understand about Soulless Sam is why they write him stupider than Sam is.
Yeah, right.
Does being a soul affect your, like, intelligence? I'm not, like... Because he's also shown to be, like, real sharp at times. And then, like this, he just takes things, like, real literal.
Yeah.
But, like, Sam does
For
know
no
better.
reason.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. Sam's like looking through all these papers and he's like, so what is all of this? Like, what's the point of all of this? And Wayne says, I say that 30 years of eyewitness accounts speak for themselves. It's proof. And Sam's like, yeah, right. My brother was abducted, so I'm pretty good on the whole proof part. And then this woman who was interviewed in the beginning of the episode, her name's Sparrow, is very flirtatious and is like, your brother was abducted.
Oh my God.
I can be close to somebody who has had a close encounter. Yeah.
It's fine. I mean, I've had time to adjust.
Did it happen when you were kids?
No, like half an hour ago.
I love that line. I don't know why. I don't know why. It's so good. I don't know what this one is.
Just the like cavalier way he said it. I'm just like, oh no. It was like, what do you mean? I've had time. Like, who cares? Like, I can move on.
It confirms everything that Dean was worried about. He does not care. He does not care about him at all. Like, Dean could like get run over by a bus and he'd be like, yeah, well, it's fine. It happened like 2 minutes ago. Like, let's get on with my life. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. He then scolds Wayne. He's just like, you've been hunting UFOs for over 3 decades and you've got no concrete like data, zero workable leads. Have you considered the possibility that you suck at hunting UFOs? And Sparrow says, I'd like to help if I can.
Oh, like, that was mean to say that to Wayne, even though, fine, he's a bad guy. But like,
it's true though. Like, if you spent 30 years, I guess because it's the terminology. I guess that because hunting and hunting, like hunting but looking or hunting but actually killing, are two different things. But yeah, I don't know. I was kind of on board with Sam to tell him he sucks at his job. Anyway, so it's still nighttime. It might be the next day. I don't know. It's whatever. And Dean's back in the cornfield yelling, swiping at the air, shooting his gun. And then it cuts to Dean opening the door of the hotel room and catching his brother in the act.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Sparrow's like, oh, that's your brother? Oh, they brought him back. Like, well done.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, no, it's fine. Like, I can totally leave. Like, you need time with your family. And she like leaves, like goes out of the room. And Dean's like so disappointed. He's like not looking, he's looking down, not really looking at them, just like, oh my God, what is this? And she then asks,
What were they like?
They were grabby, incandescent douchebags. Good night.
and Sam just says, you're upset.
I feel Sam because he's having to like read the situation at any given point, and he's like, what did I do wrong this time? What social cue did I, yeah.
As I was saying with it being exhausting, right? Because he doesn't know like what to do.
I was abducted. And you were banging patchouli.
He sounds like, I don't think he smelled that bad. They go have a back and forth about like, Sam didn't look hard enough for him.
I mean, he didn't. He didn't.
There's been a time skip as well because Dean says he's been gone for an hour, but really he's been gone all night. It's like 4 a.m.
This made no sense. No, I'm sorry. This made no sense. Why was the bit in the UFO park in the daytime? No daytime has passed.
No, it hasn't. It wasn't
was
daytime.
Was it nighttime?
It was still nighttime.
It was just well lit. Okay, fine. All right, I let it go.
My assumption is that this is happening in like wintertime.
Okay,
or like October kind of time. So it gets dark early.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Stays dark all night. Corn grows all year.
I don't know.
I do feel like it is mostly in the autumn. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Dean is clearly shaken up by this. Because it kind of confirms that he was abducted by aliens because there was a time slip, and Sam gives him a drink. Sam tries to coax out like what happened, and he's like, well, there was, God help me, Sam, there was a bright white light. Like he has to retell everybody's the same story that everybody tells. Yeah. And he's like, suddenly I was in a different place and there were these beings. They were too bright to look at. But I could feel them pulling me towards some sort of table. And Sam's like, probing table? It's like, don't say it out loud. And Dean starts doing his Dean thing and starts hacking and slashing and fighting. And they seem surprised. I love this line of,
I had a close encounter, Sam. And I won.
I love it so much.
And then Sam just turns around and says, you should have a shower. You should take a shower. And Dean's like, yeah, I should take a shower. I'm gonna go take a shower now.
I think I realized what the table was because I wondered about this, right? But it doesn't mention it in this episode. But if you know about fairies, if you're not supposed to like eat anything in their realm, otherwise you have to stay there. So maybe it was actually like a table of food, and like was not a probing table.
So maybe that's why they were so confused and like let him go, because like, we're just trying to offer you food and you're attacking us kind of thing.
Yeah, that was my thought on that. I mean, it might be completely wrong, but like, yeah, I don't know.
It's funny because we've mentioned fairy rules before with the green room, and that like Adam ate in the room and Dean didn't because he was stopped by Cass.
Yeah.
So it's just like, wait a second, are angels just like fairy offshoots? I think they are. That's the canon in my head, because Gabriel and now this with the food thing, they're one and the same.
Yeah, I mean, like he might as well have just been called like Puck or whatever, hasn't he? Like,
Abraham had to sacrifice his first son up on the thing, like in Bible stories, right?
I'm not saying that maybe some Christianity is derived from like pagan stories, okay? Like, if you can see my face, that's maybe why you get the overlap.
Angels are in another dimension. You know, time is different up there.
Are angels just Christian fairies?
They have wings. The only difference is that they're huge.
They are huge.
Cast is the size of the Chrysler building. So
the fairies just look like pretty people usually, or unimaginable horrors. One or the other.
Yeah, one or the other. So it's then later in the day, and they're in the diner, and Dean points out that, like, you know, on top of everything else, like, they're aliens. Aliens are real. What's next? Hobbits. And what's funny is that basically it's true that hobbits are real, like, because Shire folk could be considered fae.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I don't understand what. I guess they went for like a fairy adjacent thing, but why would Dean's brain go from aliens to hobbits? Why that leap?
Peter Jackson, I'm sure, has done both types of movies.
I do feel like a better reference, and this would have been an X-Files and a Supernatural reference, if you had said, what's next, Bigfoot? Because we know like about the whole like Supernatural looking for they're looking for Bigfoot thing. And also there is an X-Files episode where they find out Bigfoot is real. And there's a whole family of them. It's a terrible episode.
I think you made reference to it in the dog episode, because it's like world changing, but nothing comes of it.
Well, I mean, that happens in X-Files a lot, so maybe this is also why this happens. Maybe that was the truly meta part of this episode.
Is that there's this whole other world, but it means absolutely nothing.
Like in X-Files, when they find out aliens actually do exist, like they are real, but actually kind of changes nothing.
That's amazing. And as Dean's explaining this, Sam's like eyes the waitress again and is like, kind of gives her a head nod. And Dean's like not happy about it. He's like, our reality is collapsing around us and you're trying to pick up a waitress.
Yeah.
And Sam's like, okay, well, this brings up a question. So say you've got a soul and you're on a case, but the brother gets abducted by aliens. And Dean's like, yeah, you then do everything you can to get him back. And he's like, yeah, right.
What about when there are no more leads for the night? I mean, are you supposed to just sit there in the dark and suffer, even when there's nothing that can be done at that moment? Yes!
Yes, you sit in the dark and feel the loss. So absolutely, but couldn't I do all of that and have sex with a hippie chick? It's like, no! It could be in the dark.
I feel like Sam has a point, right? Because there maybe should have been times where they lost another brother and they like maybe should have just got on with their lives rather than sitting in the dark and like feeling the loss.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, I'm pretty sure Dean has done this before. I mean, maybe not when Sam was missing.
No.
I mean, he did it for a whole year when he thought, like, with Lisa.
Yeah,
like,
come on now. Well, I feel like it was a few months. I guess he's saying that it should be more than half an hour.
But, you know, when the opportunity strikes.
Yeah.
And Dean's like, no, you couldn't be, you would be suffering. You just can't turn that off for a night.
Why not? Because if you had a soul, your soul wouldn't let you.
And Sam's like,
So you're saying having a soul equals suffering? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
like the million times you've almost called Lisa, you're saying suffering is a good thing. And like, Dean just kind of wants to move on from that, obviously, because he doesn't want to talk about his feelings.
I know, but him saying that it's the only game in town, like, what a line is that in Supernatural? Suffering is the only game in town. Like, there's no alternative to suffering.
There is no alternative to suffering. You're right. You're absolutely right. So they go back to the case and they're going to go research. And they've got like over a century of UFO lore to catch up on. And there was a guy like outside the diner and Dean's like, what's up with that guy? But Sam can't see him. Sam thinks it's a cop by the window and then the guy disappears. So then they go back to the motel room. Sam is at the library, but it's starting to close. And they've just found too much information because, of course, like everybody has a story. Yeah. It's kind of interesting. I don't really remember the last time they've had like a major song play in an episode.
Yeah.
Because David Bowie's Major Tom starts to play. as he's like trying to like as he finishes up the conversation with Sam and the lights start to flicker, it's very Ghost-esque.
It is,
right?
yeah. The song, yeah. Sorry, I was just thinking about which one it was because I remembered this one as well. Yes, it's David Bowie's Space Oddity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I love that song. It makes me really sad, but I love it.
I know. I love it, David Bowie. Or David Bowie. We're going to get into a conversation about that. I mean, everyone in the UK calls him David Bowie. I've never heard anyone call him David Bowie.
Yeah, I've never heard that either.
Yeah.
Like, who says Bowie?
The argument is that he had a child called Zowie. It's like Zowie Bowie.
Oh. Zowie Bowie.
Yeah, see?
Oh, that's a tongue twister, isn't it? Oh.
Anyway. So that's the argument for it being Bowie, but yeah.
So the door slams open, there's this ball of light, and he's like, we've all seen it. He like looks at her and he's like, nipples? And then he gets like thrown around the room. Eventually he gets trapped in the microwave and like he sets it going and it explodes. Oh. And like the whole thing ends with just a ding.
Like in the dark as well. It's so good. I love it so much.
Yeah.
I really like, I think it's maybe in the outtakes, there is like, they show how they did this. It's just like a ball on a stick, essentially.
I mean, it makes sense.
But yeah, it's pretty good. So yeah, we come back to them and Dean's showing Sam the microwave. And like it's cut between their perspectives. So Dean is seeing a microwave that is like filled with like gore and viscera, and it's just like disgusting. And then Sam is seeing this like a perfectly clean microwave.
See what? See the blood. See all the blech.
I love that.
And he explains it was a little naked lady, a glowing hot naked lady with nipples, and she hit him. And Sam just says, "I'm not supposed to laugh, right?" So Sam asks if she had wings, and he's like, well, one of the like weirder theories is actually like UFOs are fairies, because you know basically hundreds of years ago, if people got abducted with a bright light, people would have said it was fairies, not UFOs. So all the lore does link together. Sam spins the laptop round of like what he's typing on, and Dean just says Smurfs. Where would you get Smurfs from? And Sam's like, no, fairies. So he explains what I just said, like, you know, glowing lights, abductions, it's all the same, just under a different skin. I'm just doing the math, and this is also a lead. And he's like, a lead where? And they do a hard cut to the fairy lady's trailer. And it's really sweet. Like, she's sat them up on like a little table, and they've got like little china things. Like, the thing is, I know this lady. Right? Like, I met her.
I want to be this lady.
Yeah. I feel like I could be this lady if I wanted to. Because I've been to like Glastonbury and stuff, and there's some towns in England as well where like there are shops and stuff that just sell this kind of fairy business.
The crystals, the figurines, the tiny everything.
Yeah. And there is a lot of like superstition that we have here about fairies still. Like people do still think about them in the back of their minds. It's like in Iceland where they won't build roads around through big rocks because like, you know, the people live there. It's just like, well, that's just what you do.
No.
So she's like, yes, they have many names. and Dean like points this like fairy figurine, and he's like, and it looks like the one I explained it like this. He's like, I get that Tinkerbells are fairies, but what about the tiny Santa Claus and the troll? And she's like, that's a garden gnome and that's a goblin. But Dean's like, have you never heard of a garden gnome, Dean? Like, why, like the tiny... No one calls a garden gnome a tiny Santa Claus.
I'm going to make it real sad.
Yeah. Go on.
They lived hotel to hotel, so they never really saw homes.
Yeah, but...
So they wouldn't have seen gardens and stuff like that. Like,
no, I don't buy it. Dean watches too much TV. Like, there's no way he doesn't know what a garden gnome is.
Yeah, okay, fair. Yeah.
So she explains that, yes, they are all fairies, right? Like goblins and stuff, they're all considered fairies. And so they're from the fairy realm, and Sam's like, is that like another dimension? And she's kind of like, yeah, it is. Marion is actually like, she's answering him like she knows her stuff. She's like, oh, there's much theory and little fact. Like, we know they only take firstborn sons, which is why Dean got abducted. And just like Rumpelstiltskin, and she's like, personally, I think they're taken to Avalon to service Oberon, the king of the fairies. And Sam like side eyes Dean, and he's like,
Dean, did you service Oberon, king of the fairies?
shuts that down.
Yeah.
I like that soulless Sam is still funny. Like,
Yes.
like that you, like a soul doesn't necessarily mean you no longer have humor. And I think he understands enough about the situation that he knows it's funny. Yeah.
So she also mentions that
Only people who have been there and returned to our world can see the fairy here.
Okay. This was another thing that really like annoyed. So what we're saying is, it's from this point onward in Supernatural, so we have another 9 seasons to go. Dean has the capability to see fairies. But
should be able to.
Sam doesn't. Wasn't Mrs. Butters, is that her name? Wasn't she a fairy?
She was.
She was, but they could all see her.
She was, because she let them see.
Yeah, she let them. Again, definitely would have been a good callback if only Dean could see her in the beginning, because he's the only one who can see fairies.
Yeah.
Maybe that does happen.
Because he's been to the fairy.
Yeah. I need to watch the episode again now.
Okay, actually, I think, because obviously that's not completely accurate, because the clock, I'm skipping ahead in the episode, the clockworker can see them, and he obviously hasn't been to the fairy realm, but he casts a spell. So maybe because Sam cast the spell to banish them all, he could then see them.
Or, yeah, maybe. Or, like, is it like you said, are they choosing to let him see them? That's also a thing, right?
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. Okay.
So I'm going with, like, Dean can see fairies. I feel like that should give him the like capability to see things like hellhounds, just in my opinion. I feel like once you've seen one trans-dimensional, like, being, you should be able to see all of them. He shouldn't need the special glasses.
I agree. Kind of.
Okay.
Kind of. Only because they're supposed to be separate.
Yeah,
right?
fine.
And I do feel like that's, especially in this episode, because the fairy says he's way more powerful than angels, which means he's way more powerful than demons. So, but that's not to say that a hellhound is not a fairy.
That's true. It could be.
But because
that's what made me think of it. Like, it should give him some ability to see other like dimensional beings. But I get it that they're from a certain dimension, so fine. It messes with my head. Fairies shouldn't exist in the supernatural universe and have a separate dimension, because it messes with all the other lore. Like, it messes with everything else. Yeah. Are they separate from God? Like are fairies separate from God? Because God made all the other dimensions in this Chuck. Like, he visits them to like shut them down, right? So what happened to fairies?
Yeah.
Okay, it's fine. Like, Ben Edlund wasn't thinking that far ahead. It's okay. And again,
he didn't know they were going to do that. So
this is an X-Files episode, so it doesn't matter. So Dean's like, okay, well, if fairies are real, what can we do about them? And she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, how can we forcefully interact with fairies? And she says, well, you know, if you want to win a fairy's favour, you should leave out a bowl of fresh cream. That is legit fairy lore, as far as I remember. You can put white bread on top as well. And she's like, oh, you know, and they all hate iron. The dark fairy burn when touched with silver.
You could spill sugar or salt in front of them. No matter how powerful, the fairy must stoop to count each grain.
Again, all legitimate fairy lore. I like that they made it accurate. I don't know. It's because it's my cultural heritage. So Dean's like, great, thanks. And then she insists that they stay to finish their tea, and like, and Dean's like trying to make polite small talk while they drink out these tiny cups. Like Sam's is ridiculous. And he's like, oh, I love the feel of this place. And Sam says it's like Sedona, Arizona crapped in here. I don't understand that reference.
I don't know either.
No.
Don't know it either. It must be a town.
Yeah, like there are some places, like I listen to podcasts and things where there are like loads of like crystal shops and things, you know, where they're supposed to be like energy vortexes and things. So maybe something like that. Dean calls it cuterific. And like as it kind of like zooms out of the trailer, like Sam's like, do you have bigger cups? So they leave, and they're being pretty mean. I'll be honest, they're being pretty mean. This lady invited them in, and she gave them tea, and she also gave them the information that they needed to defeat the fairies. So
yep,
to say like, have I got the crazy on me is mean, Dean.
Yeah, very, very
And
mean.
Sam says no, but he did sit in some glitter though, which, again, nudging like the fairy jokes at Dean. You know, Sam says like, it doesn't really give us the next move. Like we can always put the call out to Bobby. But then they see Mr. Brennan from the watch shop buying just a bunch of cream.
Yep.
And they're like, wow, okay, that solves that conundrum. So Dean again sends him after the watchmaker, and he's gonna go check his shop because obviously he's not there at the moment. But he warns Sam as he leaves, like, no hippie chicks. So Dean breaks into this shop. It's like a whole sequence. He like breaks into the shop, goes in, sees some like small guys, yeah, making watches. They kind of look at him like, what? And then he leaves. Sam is watching the watchmaker dude. When Dean calls him, he's like, it's freaking full of Keeblers. I don't understand that reference either. I'm Googling that one. Is it like, I feel like it's an 80s movies thing. Like Gremlins.
Oh, it's a food product. It's like they make cookies and stuff, and the mascot is like a little elf.
Okay,
thing.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's like the story with the shoe guy and the elves. He's like, do you think this guy made a deal with a bunch of fairies? Because there's a story about a shoemaker, right? And he can't keep up with his shoes, so he gets a bunch of elves to make the shoes. Yeah.
But what I can't figure out is how one man can put out that much product. I mean, hell, if I didn't know better, I'd say you have a bunch of elves working for you.
Except I do know better, and you do.
It's like you had him, and then you just went smacked him in the face.
Where was the subtlety? So he's like, tell me, how does a father decide to trade his son for some watches? Like, what's your excuse? And he's like, no, it wasn't like that. Dean and Sam are still separated, so they're going to get into some shenanigans. Dean's walking along this, the like pavement from the shop, and he sees the like fairy guy watching him again. So he goes after him. It cuts back to Sam, and like the watchmaker is explaining this whole situation. So he was making watches, but unfortunately he got Parkinson's, which obviously one of the side effects of that is like you can get tremors. So he was unable to do all the fine work that watchmaking requires. And his grandmother had told him all these stories about fairies and like how to summon them and do spells and stuff. So he did. He's like, you know, just for lols, just to see. So yeah, he tried it just to see if it would work, and it did. Essentially, a guy appeared and said he was a leprechaun. And he just asked him to cure his hands, but he said he'll do that and he'll also make him really successful. And all he wanted in exchange was a place to rest, to take the fruit and fat of the land, which, to be fair, sounded like, I don't know, like, but you should know, man, they're fairies.
I mean, maybe the warning was at the end of the book.
Yeah. Or like, just ask them what they mean by that. Because I feel like there's a thing that like fairies can't lie, but like they'll sure try. It's like
I feel, that feels familiar.
So they just sort of, they work around it.
Skirt the truth.
Because they're telling them the truth here. Like that's what they're taking. But yeah. So the fruit and the fat was firstborn children. Well, not just children, but just general firstborn sons. So his son first and then others. And like they're not going to stop. They talk about a way if there's reversing the spell. And Mr. Brennan said there's a book in the safe in his shop. But of course the like elves are guarding it. And someone's like, you can see fairies? He's like, yeah. So we cut back to Dean, and he, despite the fairy that was following him being like his height, as he walks around the corner, he tackles like a little person, and it's I'm not sure I'm happy with this one, I'll be honest. Like what happens afterwards I think is kind of amusing, but like this, I don't know, it doesn't play well to me anymore.
Because there wasn't there was no indication that this guy could shapeshift yet. Like you do see that happen, but like not here. Yeah,
like he should have just tackled a guy that kind of looked like him who was wearing a red hat or something, But like, so Dean, and Dean's like, oh God, no. Like, I can't believe I've just done this. To be fair, like he is like shocked and disgusted at himself. And he's like, oh no, like I didn't mean to do it. I'm so sorry.
This was the thing that I was just like, this particular joke didn't land. Like I don't think I liked it when it happened either, because it's like the way that he was, because he says like little fairy, what do you want, fairy, like keep saying fairy. I'm just like, nobody talks like that, not realistically.
Yeah, and also like
you can get away with it once, but I don't know, repeated like that, I was just like, that's kind of
hate crimes are a thing that happen. So like, is it fun to make fun of them? Yeah, I know. It made me uncomfortable actually. Like I agree with you. So Sam and Mr. Brennan come round the corner and they see Dean getting arrested. And as he's getting thrown into the back of the police car, he's like, fight the fairies, you fight those fairies. Like, I don't understand. Where is the self-awareness, Dean? Like,
and also, like, there's been no has been no reason for them to fight. Right?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just weird. It was just weird. Like, I know it's playing for laughs. I don't know. It's just out of context. It's weird. But like, it is. I don't know. It is. I'll be honest. It is still a little bit of a chuckle. Just a little bit of a one of him like shouting at the police car, being completely unaware of how this is being taken by the general public around him. It's a little bit of a one, but like. It also, as I said before, I think this whole section would not play now on TV. Like, they would not okay that.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
There are other jokes that you could make. I mean, I already feel like there's enough fairy jokes this episode. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I think what makes it, what the kind of like the funniness in is in Sam's reaction of like, you're telling, like, his face when it cuts to him is like, you're telling me off for like all the things I've said recently, and they're like, you're doing this.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be his Jiminy Cricket. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're getting arrested. You're getting
hope, Sam. You have no hope. Like, if this man is your conscience,
none. I mean, we knew that from the beginning, let's be real. Like, Dean's moral compass isn't okay. It's not great.
See, like, do you think chaotic good? I don't know. I don't actually think like on the alignment scale they register as good. I feel like it's neutral.
No.
Lawful neutral, maybe. No. Neutral. Not even true neutral. I don't know. They're off the scale somewhere of like whatever ending the world to save your brother is. I'm not sure where that comes on the alignment chart.
I think that's chaotically evil, isn't it? I'm pretty sure choosing one person over the world is not a good thing.
Lawful evil, neutral evil. I don't know. I'm not actually sure. Yeah, I know, right?
So Dean is in jail, which is it's the same jail that he was put in that Henderson episode.
Yes, it is. Yes.
And the sheriff is explaining that, it could be classed as a hate crime, and Dean says, well, it wasn't a hate crime. And the sheriff is,
If this gentleman were a full-sized homosexual, would that be okay with you?
I love how awkward Dean is about saying, like, a gay guy. Like, it's got nothing to do with being, like, he doesn't hate any person or any size gay guy. But it turns out that this guy is also the district attorney for the county. And, Dean is screwed. Mm-hmm. I don't know what this line is, because he says, I'd say he's done well for himself considering, these tough economic times. He's clearly making a dig at his height. I was just like, come on, Dean.
Right.
Come on. I feel like
he's in jail for a hate crime, right? Like, why even attempt to say his filter is bad?
Yeah. Jiminy Cricket, remember? You're supposed to be Jiminy Cricket. This is not a Jiminy Cricket thing to say.
Think before you say things. I mean,
exactly. Yep. So then we cut to Sam and Brennan, and Sam asks, if they're there, and
But it's all right. Cream hits him like tequila.
They get to what made me so annoyed with this is that this book was supposed to be like really difficult to get to, but he knows that the cream knocks him out. So he never went to get the book. Like,
this was not hard. Like, I also thought the same thing. I was like, this was the easiest heist in history. Like, honestly.
Yeah. It was so bad. And then he starts to recite the spell, but then Wayne shows up. And Sam's like, you're the leprechaun? And he's like, sorry about this mess, but your friend here went back on his deal. Because he kills the watchmaker with his stick. Mm-hmm. He says that he told him what the price was and that we would come and we would stay. Sam's sort of impressed with the plan that you can use the UFOs as a cover-up for their deeds. But now the cover's blown and Wayne's like...
Blown? To whom? Brennan's dead? Your brother? He's marked.
With recanting the deal, does that mean that everything was undone? Because if he's marked, he's marked. Unless his new mark of Cain did something, all of his marks are mixing up together. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
okay, we'll leave it at that.
Because it doesn't say anywhere that the people got returned. But
true.
I guess you could if you're in fairy court, you could say well, you can't take Dean because he's not the fruit or fat of that land. He's from Kansas.
True. True.
But then they'd be the whole, it's the whole thing. But you could argue back and forth about whether he is from that area. I think because because they're no longer providing him with help, they're cut off now from taking any more. I don't think anyone came back though. That's my opinion.
Right.
So yeah, but that's why they don't end up taking Dean, is because they're technically not doing their end of the deal anymore. So no one gets anything.
Makes sense. That makes sense. And then so this is where it's revealed that you can only see fairies if they let them see you. This is another thing that I found really kind of annoying with the soulless stuff, because this leprechaun has instantly gathered that there's something wrong with Sam. We saw it with the alpha, we've seen it now with this leprechaun. Maybe it's just super powerful beings, but I don't know. I know Cass was playing dumb, but it's just so annoying. It was so annoying.
And he's supposed to be just a leprechaun. He's not a super powerful fairy.
You're missing a certain piece. Right in the center, ain't you?
Says who?
We fairy folk are all about energy. And the human soul gives off a certain perfume.
Your soul is far away, but not completely out of reach.
Yeah, so that makes you wonder, like, is it actually still in the cage? I think this was maybe the one plot point that kind of does carry over, like, where is Sam's soul? Right.
But it's such a passing line, though. No. Wayne offers to get it back for a price. I love this line of like, well, it's locked in a box with the devil, and he's like, "Your devil, not mine."
Maybe it is in the cage then. Okay, maybe that wasn't just okay. Fine, disregard what I previously said about them pretending that's not in the cage.
Yeah, and he's just playing down his strength, saying that a leprechaun could never do what angels couldn't. And he's like, "Wow, angels, please." I'm talking about real magic. From my side of the fence, and they've got ways to get into any place. Again, this is like a reference to Pinocchio. He says, "So you're my blue fairy. You can make me a real boy again." And he says, "When you wish upon a star." He then shoots Wayne, and it's filled with iron. He says, "Painful, but not a deal breaker." And then he shoots him again. We get then back into jail, and the fairy with the red cap appears and like proceeds to like just beat him up. We then go back to the watch shop, and Sam and the leprechaun are now fighting, and it's not really going anywhere. Like, Wayne is clearly winning against Sam, and he's like, "Yeah, you're right, I'm done shooting, but can you do me a favor, count this?" And he like empties a vial of salt on the floor. And then the thing is, so you were saying, like we were saying, what Dean was saying about like how the game of it is suffering. Sam knows this because he's like, "Why didn't I do this earlier?" Like, he let himself get beaten up, even though he knew that just pouring salt on the ground would have worked.
He does. So come on, Sam.
So as the leprechaun is counting the salt, Sam recounts the spell, and all of the fairies get sucked away. And so I couldn't remember how like Dean gets out of the fight. He doesn't. He just gets beaten up, and then like
you're right. Because I was thinking like, oh, maybe like Dean wins that fight, and maybe that's why he's not marked anymore or whatever. Because clearly that red cat's trying to like abduct him.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess.
But no.
Also, maybe if Dean isn't marked for abduction either, he can no longer see fairies. Maybe they're resolving it that way. It's fine. I've stopped trying to make it work in my head. It's fine. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's too vague, right? Because all they say for it is that if you go to the fairy realm, you can then see them. But like, I guess the implication though is that you go there and come back, but nobody comes back from the fairy realm.
So canonically, I maintain Dean can see fairies through the rest of the seasons.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
So Sam and Dean end up by their car. The cooler is there. I remember this. The cooler is there.
Yes. Cooler feelings.
There are cooler feelings. I like that so much. Sam doesn't have a beer. Dean does. And he says that the DA's...
Because he has no feelings.
That's right, so he gets no beer. So the DA dropped the charges on Dean, like, luckily. I mean, that could have been bad if he had gone through those charges, because like Dean is a wanted dead man.
So the thing is, I was going through like how this episode with you, I was like, well, of course they're gonna let him go, because he wasn't beaten up before he was in jail, and suddenly he is. Like, he could just turn around and say like, the police beat me.
That's so true.
So they would.
That was the whole. It's a bad case. So that just gets resolved.
This line.
This gets resolved.
Little big man. Oh my god, I hated that. Sorry.
No, it's fine. There was no need for this.
No.
So, like, Dean's asking, like, do you really think Lucky Charms, love that, could have returned your soul to sender? And Sam's like, oh, you know, he did talk a good game, but, like, it's crazy, right? And he's like, but you said no.
It was a deal. When's a deal ever been a good thing?
So, I mean, I guess at least he learned something. But I get, again, it's like throwing into question, like, does he actually want his soul back? Because souls are suffering. And he's like, well, you know, I'm just trying to figure out how you think. And Sam's like, you know, I do still have all my brain cells. Are we sure? If anything, it works better now. Okay.
You know that you're not having second thoughts about getting your soul back.
Oh.
You're not, are you?
No.
But then it fades to black, so you're like, oh, he is though, isn't he? Let's be real.
He is. Yep. Of course he is. Like, you've just literally told him that having a soul is suffering. Like,
yeah.
What do you want him to do?
I know. Yeah, so I guess that was the only real bit of plot in this, the season plot in this episode, was that maybe Sam's having second thoughts about having a soul. But, like, I feel that's something that we kind of already do.
Yeah, like, he's not 100% on board. I think he likes being who he is.
I think so too.
Like, I don't think he's that upset.
Yeah. And I feel like this kind of like goes back and forth through the season, like, I want it, I don't want it, I want it, I don't want it, kind of thing. Until he's kind of forced to have it.
Yeah, he really is. Yep.
So yeah, I like this episode. I think it's fun. I think Robert Picardo is a great addition. I think he does a good job as the UFO guy, and I think as a leprechaun.
How does one play a leprechaun? I don't know, but he did it well.
He didn't do like an Irish accent, but he did shorten some of his words. He tried doing like a cadence, and I feel like maybe he was scripted to do an Irish accent and was like, I can't do an Irish accent.
And I think it's also fine that, because he is trying to fit in to the world, so it would be like way more obvious that he does not.
Oh yeah, no, I completely just don't do it. Like, you don't need to. It's fine.
Yeah, let's not do that one. Of all the things, let's not do that one. Yeah, no, I do like this. I do like this episode. I probably would watch it again, knowing how cringe some of the like fairy jokes are. I can kind of get past it, but like I said, the belly laughs that I got out of this, I think kind of overrule like the kind of like.
I agree with you. There is some level of ick, but like it is also like the Sam moments in this are so funny. Like the deadpan delivery of his lines are so good. It's worth watching again. And like, we all watch some cringe stuff sometimes. Like, you can't pretend that you don't.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
Exactly. And I mean, we talked at length at the beginning of this episode about why we liked it. So I don't really have anything extra to say. I don't know if there's something for you.
No, that's very true, actually. Like, yeah, you know why I like it. It's silly. It's I say we needed this one. Yeah, because I feel like the next few are heavy. I
think so
there's
too.
Not much reprieve, I don't think, until it gets a French mistake.
I'm sure there's some other ones in there too. You know me, I don't know any of these episodes.
Season 6, I can't remember any. Like, honestly, you could have told me any of these episodes or in any other season, and I would have believed you. Like, season 6 is just a mush. Like just bleh in my brain, paper mache.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but yeah, no, it was a fun episode. Like I said, we needed this episode, and I'm glad it came with Edlin's stamp of approval, I guess, or like Edlin writing it, because I'm trying to think who the other like funny writers are. I think Sarah Gamble can do some pretty good Sam one-liners.
Yeah, I think so too. I think like I sometimes think Andrew Dabb like thinks they are like the funny episodes. It's because he writes Dean in a different way to other writers.
Yeah.
But I'm not so sure. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, our next episode is Caged Heat. That's right.
Heart.
Caged Heart. No, Caged Heat. Caged
Heat or heart?
Caged Heat.
I don't know why I put the R in there.
I mean, it makes just as much sense. I feel like that's an action movie reference. Is Caged Heat like an action movie? I feel like it might be.
I mean, Heat is a movie, like a well-known gangster movie that, like, the Dark Knight trilogy was, like, the mood and the, like, map was based on, supposedly. Okay. Anyway, I don't know why I know that. And I could also be talking out, like, I'm repeating information that was told to me, so I never... Anyway. It is directed by Robert Singer, though, so expect some zooms. Is this the Crowley zoom?
It could be. He is in this episode. It could be. It might happen. That's exciting. That alone is exciting. Maybe it is. I don't remember what episode is it from, so...
No, I don't remember either.
But the peak, that is the peak zoom. Like, it's so good. There were some good ones in this season so far, though. There has been some good zooms. That one of, like, Sam in that play park in the last episode. That's one of my top 10, I feel.
Oh, man. I really hope I think it might be this episode just because it is talking... Like, I'm looking at I'm doing a sneak peek.
Me too.
And it is talking about purgatory, so I'm just like, maybe it's like some sort of realization that happens. Oh,
me too. I really do, because I feel like this is going to be like a heavy episode. And like, yes, I want it. Everyone's in this next episode as well. There's like everyone. It's a very plot heavy.
Nice. That's why it's Robert Singer.
Yeah, he has to be the main man. I'm excited for it. I think it'll be, I don't know, I have found the plot episodes in this season a little dry so far. So maybe. Yeah,
I don't recognize who wrote this one. This is probably also the season, the mid-season finale.
I think it must be.
Episode.
Just because it is so like plot heavy. Yeah.
Which means the ones afterwards are going to be horrendous, and I'm looking forward to those.
All right, let's wrap this up then. So at the end of the episode, I'd like to say thank you to the Pixel Agora and his wonderful
just
logo
you?
art. Oh yeah, just me. Annabelle doesn't say thank you. No, I'm joking. We say thank you to Jay and his amazing logo art. We do love it, like, because we use it so much. I look at it and every time I'm like, oh yeah, it's good. And it has Misha's stamp of approval. I don't know if I ever told you this. I got it signed once by him and he was like, this is amazing. I'm like, yeah, I know. I didn't make it. I did have permission actually from Jay to do that. Like, it's fine. So yeah, go buy it then with Redbubble. And get it on a badge or a patch. I think they do patches. Or a water bottle. I'm into water bottles at the moment. Can you get it on a coffee cup? I want an Escaping Purgatory coffee cup. Like, you know, one of those like disposable ones with the lids? I want one of those anyway. So, yeah. And if you would like to listen to more of our rambling, you can follow us on Escaping Purgatory Podcast on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram. We're also on Ko-fi, Blue Sky, like everywhere. We're everywhere. Or we're just Escaping Podcast on Twitter. So yeah, come say hi and yeah, tell us what you thought about this episode.
Exactly. So this week we stumbled upon a new realm, which meant absolutely nothing because we gained nothing, we saw nothing, we fought everything. And hopefully next week we can find our way out.
Bye.
Bye.